This is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 124, about Gotham, A Dark Knight, season 4, episode 19, To Our Deaths and Beyond.
I'm David Mazouz, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Drew Powell, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Robin Lloyd Taylor, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Welcome back, Gothamites, to Gotham TV Podcast, episode 124, about Gotham, A Dark Knight, episode 19 of season 4, To Our Deaths and Beyond. Really does remind me of Toy Story.
Yes, I am one of your hosts, Buzz Lightyear.
And I'm your other host, Woody.
Yes.
No, I'm Derek, I'm one of your hosts.
Yes, and I am John, one of your hosts on Gotham TV Podcast. Yes, welcome back, Gothamites and fellow detectives. Yes, we are on episode 19, so there isn't too far to go till the end of this season, and it is certainly gearing up to be apocalyptic by the looks in Ra's al Ghul's eyes, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. And we are also on our travelling kit for our podcast, so you may hear a few lawnmowers going past in the background on a gorgeous summer's day. As we said, these last couple of weeks with Gotham being on Thursday nights and us having a few breaks over the weekends means that we have a little bit of a different setup. So hopefully you don't mind our chats on a slightly different setup for the next couple of weeks.
Yes, and speaking of on a break as such, Gotham will be on a break next week as well.
Yeah, that's right. We won't have an episode next week. There'll be an episode the week after for episode 20 of Gotham. But I think, John, let's get into this episode's discussion for episode 19, To Our Deaths and Beyond.
Yes, Derek, in terms of the spoiler-filled review, what are some of the episode details?
Well, this episode was directed by Scott White. He directed episode 16 of season 2, Prisoners, did Red Queen in season 3, which was episode 7, and also did Blade Path, episode 5 of this season, where we saw Ra's al Ghul biting the dust for the first time.
Yes, so he is returning here with that blade in the Gotham universe. So, yeah, excellent stuff.
Absolutely. And the episode was written by Iturri Sosa and Peter Blake, two new writers to Gotham for season 4. Peter wrote episode 7, A Day in the Narrows, and episode 14, Reunion, and Iturri wrote episode 9, Let Them Eat Pie, with that wonderful dance number.
Yes.
Professor Pig.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff.
And John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the episode?
Sure. Nygma robs several banks to distribute the wealth to the Narrows, but Cobblepot tells him Lee is using him as a pawn. Nygma agrees to bring Cobblepot and Grundy along on his next robbery and kill Lee, but betrays Cobblepot and plans to make Lee fall in love with him. However, the G.C.P.D arrives, but Lee gives herself up and allows Nygma to escape. Elsewhere, with Tabitha's help, the Renegade League faction uses Bruce's blood to resurrect Ra's al Ghul, who disdains Barbara's limited ambitions and tries to take back the power of the demon's head. Barbara fights Ra's, but returns the power to him when he threatens Tabitha's life. Barbara reconciles with Tabitha, while the female League members recognize her worth as a leader and continue to serve her. After a vision of cataclysmic event that will soon devastate the city of Gotham, Ra's resolves to remain alive and use the disaster to shape Bruce into a Dark Knight of Gotham.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, really good. I have to say now, I felt sorry for Ra's being woken up there. He looks like me in the mornings, to be honest. I kind of just want to keep my head under a bit of a dressing gown, and I probably look slightly half dead as well.
It's like zombie Ra's al Ghul in this episode.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes, I love this zombie Ra's though. He was fairly badass, to be honest, but also Barbara did certainly stand up to him, and her reasons for handing over the demon's head were very different than I would have expected to have seen, definitely.
Yeah, nice to see a little heart from Barbara in this episode. Yeah.
It's a long time since we saw some heart from Barbara.
Well, let's get into our top 5 case notes, John. I think case note 1 has to be Nygmakins.
Nygmakins, indeed. That lovely genetic cross between Lee Thompkins and Ed Nygma. Yes, Nygmakins. On the rob, basically. On a robbing spree. They've targeted 5 banks. They've gotten load of cash. They're distributing it around the Narrows. G.C.P.D are absolutely wondering who this is, but it's part of a bigger plan from Nygmakins where they will then attack all the bank's collected assets as they seek to try and secure them all in one place. Yes, always a bad idea.
It is, isn't it? This is pretty much the exact opposite of what you're told to do in security firms. When you're having any kind of attack, you're told to not consolidate things, separate them out, put them in different locations. Yet this bank, Savings and Loan of Gotham, decided that they'd put all of the banks together in one location, so it's probably easier to break in and take it all at the same time.
Certainly won't be opening a piggy bank with this crowd, for sure. But yeah, this is, this is nice seeing these two work together. And certainly, I think, because of the connection it brings back with Grundy and with Oswald Cobblepot, but also with Jim, ultimately here now we have this grouping of the Riddler or Nygma, Lee Thompkins, Grundy, Oswald Cobblepot and Jim Gordon, where their lives have been so intertwined. And these bank jobs, and this robbery, really just kind of has a good way of bringing these together to kind of now sort of smooth out and really settle where these characters are after all the craziness that's happened in this season so far. Yeah. And it takes some unexpected twists and turns for sure.
It certainly does. It certainly does. I love the interrogation that Jim's doing with the director of the Savings and Loan Bank. I think it's quite interesting that Harvey kind of calls him out on it. If anybody else was involved other than Lee Thompkins, would he really be this invested in proving that the director of Savings and Loan is actually a shady character, or is it just that he wants to get Lee off this situation? So he's really threatening her. He's using the real interrogation techniques that we've seen Jim Gordon use to try and get to the bottom of why would they be targeting Savings and Loan. He still doesn't believe that Lee's a bad guy, basically. He still believes that she's on the right side. And we do find, in fact, that Lee is targeting them to get the money back for the people of the Narrows and to get the deeds to their homes back, because Savings and Loan have been accused in the past of foreclosing on the homes of these poor people on a regular basis, illegally foreclosing on them when they haven't missed payments, just so they can sell on the property or just so they can take back the property and get other families into debt. So Lee is a bit of a Robin Hood character.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Using Nygma as her Will Scarlet, I guess, or as her
Green Scarlet.
As her Green Scarlet, maybe Green Arrow,
or
maybe.
a Ruby Green. Yes, exactly. No, this is really nice, and Jim's interrogation, as you say, of the director, it really sort of has that feeling of calling out the bank for shady practices. But she's not having any of it, the director of Savings and Loan. She really is like, oh, are we done here now? Yeah. Because I'm not the one that's robbing my own bank, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So,
you're supposed to be working for me, kind of thing.
Yeah, really good. But I think moving on to case note number 2, again, here we have Oswald and Grundy coming into this fray of Lee Thompkins and Nygma, and ultimately Oswald coming in with a warning, saying that Lee is using him, and that they are owed money as well. Oswald is owed money from Leslie Thompkins, and so, can we have our money, please? Of which then it's, no, we've already redistributed it.
Yes.
But we have this moment where we think Nygma is going to go against Lee Thompkins, where he comes to Oswald to say, actually, there's a bigger plan. We're now doing a big hit where it's about 100 million each. And I love the way Oswald's eyes light up like Christmas, and he's like, I knew there was something else. So Oswald at this stage does think that Ed has come round to his viewpoint, that Lee is simply using him, that he needs to be rid of her, and to really then, I suppose, come back within the Nygma fold here, as not just the Nygmenkins, so not just the Nygmakins. So I really enjoyed this, to see the betrayal on betrayal, or at least presupposed betrayal. I really like the fact that they had this time together, because since Oswald re-released the Riddler back into Gotham and into Ed's mind, then they've kind of been separated again. Yeah. Obviously, Oswald being involved with Jerome, and his plans. But the other thing I like here is that we see the re-emergence of Nygma in the mirror instead of the Riddler. Mm-hmm. I like that reversal of the Riddler also having these schizophrenic bouts. And I think this is the first time we've really seen that.
Yeah.
It's always been Nygma who has had the Riddler really forcing his will on, him. Here, it's the reverse of that, and I really, really enjoyed that.
It is a very confident version of Nygma that's in the mirror, though, differently than what we would see in the past. We would have seen a very cowering Nygma being overpowered by this smart guy inside his head, the Riddler. What we see here is much more of a taunting Nygma, saying, you think you can do this without me? You think you're the one that's really in love with Leslie Thompkins? That's actually me. I'm the one controlling you. So really cool that they have these two things. One of the other sides that I really love of this is Oswald's saying, I knew there was another plan when he finds out about the 100 million each. He then goes, well, that's the reason why I didn't rob all the money from you in the first place. I was going to just take all the money, but I knew there must be a bigger plan than just a couple of hundred.
Yeah, exactly.
It was quite cool seeing that. We know Grundy's being brought along because this is the next plan since the Velasca twins plan didn't work out for Oswald and Grundy. They didn't get any money out of that in the end. This is the next plan to get some money so that Grundy may return to Butch Gilzine with being able to pay for the work that hopefully will be done by Professor Strange whenever they find him. So it's quite a huge tiered plan that Oswald has in place that might get Grundy back to his old self. They've still got quite a lot to do if they're going to finish it by the end of the season, don't they?
Yeah, but like a trifle, there is layers of betrayal here. So that simply, it doesn't quite turn out how Oswald wants. In the end, they get locked away in the vault, although Grundy, obviously being there for the muscle, is starting to prise those bars apart. Mm-hmm. But Nygma has turned on Oswald and Grundy here and has gone with Leslie. He's seeing that as the viable alternative here for the two of them. But ultimately then, and this is where we have the G.C.P.D surrounds this bank facility, and then we have this whole moment where Lee effectively gives herself up. And this is where Jim is very matter of fact, where he cuffs her and reads her the rights that she has and puts her in the back of the police car.
Yeah, and this is after the admission from Ed that effectively he knows that Leslie may be using him but doesn't care. He'll convince her that he's the one for her in future. And there is that moment between the two of them where you feel there is some sparks.
Definitely.
There's something going on there that we might see in the future. Really good stuff in here. Really enjoy that there's these interplays with characters. I think those two characters, particularly this season, Nygma and Leslie Thompkins, have been working together so well. It's been
really good.
It's been great to see them because I think it was one of those moments at the beginning of the season when you saw Leslie kind of on the down and out, knocking back bottles of whiskey and tending to people's wounds in Cherry's club, and it was kind of going, ooh, this is a real change for the character. But now they're at that stage where they're working really well together.
Yeah, and it's really opened up another side to Gotham, which is really excellent in terms of giving the writers options in terms of developing storylines. I really like the whole thing around the Narrows that's happened in this season. You know, it's expanded it from just simply this underworld of Gotham. It's given it a focus, as well as, you know, adding to sort of, you know, the rich man's club like the Court of Owls or the secret organization like the League of Shadows, and as well from just simply with the G.C.P.D and Wayne Manor, those elements. It's really helped to add different routes for these criminals to interact with Gotham and the G.C.P.D and Proto-Batman.
Absolutely, yeah. Been really good fun. Speaking of Proto-Batman, let's go on to case note number 3. Tabs teaming up with Selina and Bruce to try to save Babs. We kick off this moment with Bruce in his Ford Mustang, the brand new one that he got for his birthday, caning it down the road, really trying to impress Selina with that really muscle car sound. I love, as Selina goes, does this not have some kind of silent mode? And it does.
It does, yeah,
a Batman silent mode. And Selina, very impressed. You can tell just by the look on her face that she gives a little smile and goes show off to him. But she definitely likes it. She definitely really enjoys being in this cool car. But it turns out to be a bit of a trick.
Yes.
We find out that Tabitha's actually going to use the blood of the man who killed Ra's al Ghul to bring him back to life. Now, we've had a lot of the last season talking about the spiraling of Bruce Wayne after murdering Ra's al Ghul. It had a huge, terrible effect on Bruce. He turned into basically a bit of an arse, to everybody around him, fired Alfred, was drinking every night of the week, sleeping around, partying all the time and not caring about anything that was going on in his life because of this death of Ra's al Ghul. And now Ra's has been brought back from the dead. So the big question in the episode seems to be, is Bruce going to kill him again? So he has killed him once. It had a huge effect on his life. And you see the protection around him from Selina and from Alfred as to, well, now that he's back, well, then that kind of negates the mistake that you made in killing someone. Or not the mistake, but what you feel is a mistake.
But
and
Bruce,
then you don't have to do it again.
Yeah, but Bruce believes he is the one that has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, the resurrection of Ra's al Ghul was fantastic.
It was really good,
It was really well done. Yeah. I loved the kind of hand coming out of the coffin, still kind of regenerating from the blood of Bruce spilt on him. And even just initially, the way it started to just form back up from the skull and the skeleton to being this hooded figure, seeing those kind of deathly sort of white teeth. It did look like death. You know, you just expected a sickle to be held in one hand. Really excellent.
I was thinking of Mum Ra from the Thundercats.
Yeah, exactly. Really something like that. So good. I must say I was well impressed with how that was achieved, and I loved Ra's al Ghul in this form, still trying to get the demon's head back, but still being this kind of, kick-ass Mum-Ra, from Thundercats. Yeah. Really superb, aesthetic, I think, here. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. And seeing, Bruce's look, on his face being tricked by Tabitha, really wanting to do anything but spill his blood on the skeleton corpse of Ra's al Ghul, and all of that. All these emotions flooding back. I thought it was done really, really well.
And I was wondering whether they were being quite lenient on him, just kind of taking a little bit of his blood to bring back Ra's. Like, you would kind of think if they killed him completely and took all of his blood and gave it to Ra's, would that have regenerated him more or something like that? Are they actually not being as bad as they could have been to Bruce Wayne? Do you know what I mean? Would it have been, they kill him and then transfer it to Ra's? Because I think we saw Ra's come back from the dead in the past, and it was the blood of the person that killed him was poured over him to bring him back from the dead. So interesting. I'm kind of intrigued as to whether they were actually a bit more lenient on Bruce than they could have been. They could have cut off an arm or something like that.
Or slit his throat, exactly. But then there would be no Batman.
Well, of course. So of course they had to do this.
And I'm wondering to what extent the League of Shadows are aware of this connection that Ra's al Ghul has with Bruce anyway. Mm-hmm. The whole purpose before he was mustering the League of Shadows in order to engineer that attack by Bruce and him being the cause of his death. I think, there is this intertwined aspect to Bruce Wayne and Ra's al Ghul.
Absolutely.
From the comics, and that has been developed here in Gotham as well. So in that sense, really good. But what they do realize then is that they need to get that dagger back that was used by Bruce first time in order to slay Ra's al Ghul, which leads to a fairly fine moment in the antiquities area of the embassy for Nanda Parbat, which was very Indiana Jones. I really kind of liked it. Indiana Jones meets Mission Impossible with Alfred and Tabitha teaming up to distract the guard and the gatekeeper of these antiquities for Nanda Parbat. Whilst little kitty cat, the little Selina Kyle goes all Tom Cruise Mission Impossible at the back. Really, really enjoyed it. It's really good fun.
Love this scene. So much fun. I love the idea of Alfred and Tabitha being a couple. The whole plan that they have is that apparently under the nose of Bruce Wayne, they're basically going to take this knife and go and sell it on so they can get money for them to go off and run away. I love the conversation that they have where they're just twisting and turning around the idea that Bruce might not know about this, and the minute the curator gets a whiff of it, he starts calling Tabitha a chippy, which I have no idea what that could possibly mean. In the UK, a chippy is basically where you get your fish and chips.
Absolutely.
It's where you get your fish and fries, French fries. So I don't know what that means, but I love that for the first time, Alfred, who usually comes up with these kind of phrases, is looking at him going, what's that supposed to mean? Is that some new word for bird? Is that what you mean? Really good fun. Love these scenes. And again, you get that little kind of nod and wink in the background from Kat as she's hanging down down from the ceiling on the wires, picking at the knife and going back up again.
Absolutely. And the other great thing about this is as they're developing this plan, and Alfred says to Tabitha, because it is still also a bit of a reluctant team up, where he says, yeah, we don't want you to stab us in the back again, after obviously Tabitha had done her ninja knife throw to and got the knife in the back of Alfred, who then fell into the back of the dumpster. So there's that kind of slight sort of uncertainty from Alfred and a bit of a reluctance and suspicion from him that he thinks he is going to possibly end up with a knife wound back in a hospital somewhere in Gotham.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like that he uses his acting skills to do a little heart attack in front of them all, having a little feint in front of everybody. Nice little moment from Alfred. Again, showing the stuff we talked about before, where Alfred's got these skills where he does like to act out a part and act out a role, the things he was trying to train Bruce to do last season, and they all failed. But we're seeing Alfred's acting side quite a lot this season so far. It's been good fun.
But yeah, and then Raish comes to life and goes really ninja kick-ass on a number of the female sort of side of the League of Shadows. So he goes to Barbara, there. And I suppose this kind of moves us on to case note 4, really, where, Raish, I've come to bargain.
Yes.
There is a lot of, moving back and forwards in time at one point. But before that, Raish comes to Barbara and ultimately explains to her that she is not the person she thinks she is. And actually that her ambition has been severely limited. She doesn't have control of the demon's head. She can't utilize it other than a big flashlight, as they've been saying. Yeah. And that he is hugely disappointed, and will want to take it back. And if she is not willing to give it to him freely, then he will rip out her throat and kill her and take back the demon's head by force. But he is repelled on that initial visit, but a lot of the female League of Shadows are taken down here. I thought the fighting here was fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool,
real kick-ass. They make their escape. And ultimately it comes to a head at the Sirens Bar, where Barbara has to face him down.
But there's also some interesting stuff in there. The fact that Raish is telling her that the painting that she's been staring at from the beginning of the episode and last episode, the painting that she's been staring at of herself with Raish is actually just a painting of a whore, and he broke up with her directly after a painting. Didn't believe that for a second. I must admit, you don't usually get a painting with somebody that you're only spending a couple of nights with. It usually takes quite a few weeks or even months to get a portrait like that painted of yourself. So pretty unlikely that was true. But Babs starts to believe him. Babs starts to not have confidence in herself. This is where the breakdown between Tabs and Babs comes, where Tabitha doesn't believe that Barbara would ever not believe in herself. So the fact that Raish is trying to pull these tricks on her all the time, kind of undercuts her ability to rule and her ability to see where she's going in the future. So we do see throughout this episode that she starts to get that confidence back. And that's why they have the big battle effectively between herself and Raish, because she's not willing to give up the powers, no matter whether she isn't a descendant of this queen that was sitting at Raish's side, or whether she's just happened to get this from Raish and it was an incorrect choice of his. She's holding on to it because she can see her potential. Even if that potential is just to be the leader of Gotham, she still thinks she's worthy.
Yeah, but this is a really nice point as well, is that, this is where Tabitha and Babs kind of reconnect again. Where we have a whole range of different shifting possibilities here with team-ups. Here we have Selena choose Tabitha and Barbara over Alfred and Bruce. And that stings Bruce. And I really like Selena. She is such the pragmatic Catwoman in the making, where she says, it's not about size, it's about taking down Ra's al Ghul. And I thought that they had the best plan with the knife to lure Ra's al Ghul to the Sirens, where Barbara would attack him. But then when she's there, she realizes that actually the plan is maybe only paper thin from Barbara. And suddenly this is where she decides to leave Selena and go back to Alfred and Bruce to try and get them to come to Barbara's aid, to be an additional element of this plan, that there's multiple aspects to it. But this is where Tabitha then really says, as long as you believe in yourself, I am here with you. And she is the one, as you say, that calls it out and tells her to get a grip, that Barbara has always been someone who believes in herself really strongly.
Yeah.
And I think with this, Barbara takes nourishment from Tabitha's real supportive words here. But ultimately, Tabitha stays with her. While Selena makes these other plans to bring in Alfred and Bruce without the two of them knowing. So it's almost like a surprise attack on Raish when it happens. I really liked all this toing and froing between these different alliances that happen here, because I mean, ultimately, once they have the dagger, Barbara betrays them by shooting the tires out on Bruce's Batmobile.
No, she steals his car that he just got for his 18th birthday and shoots Alfred's car. So yeah, his brand new birthday present, that awesome Ford Mustang. He got one drive on it with Selena to show off, and then it got stolen by Babs.
Well, hopefully he gets it back now.
So harsh. But you don't leave a car like that sitting around Gotham. I even thought that moment when they were driving up at the start to meet up with Tabitha, he leaves the lights on in the car and goes inside. I was like, this is Gotham, man. You gotta really take care of your stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, there is that great moment when, unfortunately, when Barbara uses the knife against Ra's al Ghul, it doesn't work. Have that little funny comment from Ra's. Ouch, as he gets stabbed.
I love that.
Really good moment.
So much. It was so good.
But we get a bat save here. We get Bruce running into the room to grab the knife and try his best to attack Ra's, but he's the one that knocks Barbara out of the way, so she's saved at that moment. But yeah, we get, as we said, this case note is called Ra's, I've come to bargain, because we see Barbara's new powers where she's able to see the future because she's under a moment of stress, as explained to her earlier on.
Well, with the knife straight through her back.
Yeah. She realizes that she's able to now see the future. And she has that moment where she sees the death of Tabitha, her partner and her comrade in arms for these last few seasons, gets her throat slit by Ra's in a future that can be changed by Barbara. So that's what makes Barbara give up the power of the demon's head by transferring it back into Ra's. So really interesting that she would take this opportunity to side back with Tabitha and lose the power that she felt was hers and she was destined to have, and give it back to Ra's and recreate our old Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, but she loses the demon's head, but she keeps and brings on board the ladies of the League of Shadows who return under her command, because they have seen that she can master the power of the demon's head. She can fight like a warrior, because there is that moment where she is actually kicking ass with Ra's al Ghul as well. Yeah. Yes, he had the upper hand up until she could then move back and forward and anticipate what was happening in the present by having seen it previously in the future. And, you know, she was beginning to kick ass, and it was only Ra's desperate attempt by taking Tabitha and threatening her life that Babs ultimately gives up the power of the demon's head back to Ra's al Ghul. And yeah, I mean, she maintains the ladies of the League of Shadows.
Yes, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I like that. I like that they come back to her side. So we're still going to have this internal civil war in the League of Assassins and the League of Shadows. Kind of interesting that we'll see the men versus the women going forward, and we have Ra's al Ghul back at full power. So really cool that they had this as such a central point in this episode. The League of Shadows are really important in the Batman mythology, in the comic books, in the movies. We've seen them in the past. Without the League of Shadows, we probably wouldn't have a Batman. They're the ones that train Bruce in the ways and the arts of surprise and of magic, effectively, that he uses. In some senses, magic's probably not what he would call it. Science, I suppose. But it's really good that they've brought this back in through Barbara. It's a bit of a shame she's already lost the power. I thought there was going to be much more to the character. I think we were talking about possibly her being a very big character within the League of Shadows, but that's still possible. I think that is still possible.
Yeah. I think there is still something there between Barbara and Ra's al Ghul, that it might not just simply be these two factions fighting it out, that there may be some connection there. And I think ultimately, yes, is that commentary from Ra's al Ghul that she's a whore or not You know, I think, as you say, I think that's probably him using different forms of manipulation to trick her. And so what is Barbara Kean in that picture?
Yeah, he does come back to her at the end of the fight and does say, no, you are actually important. You always have been important. I didn't make a mistake in choosing you, but he's still going to take the power back. And that's when she says thank you and stabs him. So, Stabby Babs back. So.
Yeah, Stabby Babs.
Yes.
But ultimately, moving on to case note 5.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we see Ra's, has a vision of the future of Gotham, and it is burny, fiery chaos, ultimately here. Really interesting. And he breaks the knife, that has been used to kill him in the past in front of, again, Bruce Wayne at Wayne Manor. Again, the security systems are failing totally here. But again, this relationship between Ra's al Ghul and Bruce Wayne, this connection, this connective tissue, about the future of Gotham comes to the fore again, as we've seen in like Batman Begins, as we've seen in the comics. And I think it's really interesting development for Bruce's character. And certainly I think, given now another breach on security at Bruce Wayne, I think it is imperative that they get the secret Batcave.
I think they do,
Or panic room, as we might call it.
I think they do, and they need a lot of security as well, definitely. There is, I suppose, some semblance of this in the comic books. Very big story arc, and it's the name of the final episode of the season, called No Man's Land. Effectively, No Man's Land is where Gotham has two huge problems that happen. A big earthquake happens, and a huge amount of death of citizens of Gotham happen all at the same time, leading to Gotham being cut off from the rest of the country and being effectively shut down by the government, saying that nobody should live there. And this leads to all of the villains of Gotham taking it over, and Batman having to be a vigilante in the city. This was also used a little bit as inspiration for The Dark Knight Rises, when Bane cuts off the city of Gotham from the rest of the country and tells them that it's now owned by the people and the government can't come in. So a little bit of that. So we are expecting that episode of Gotham at the end of this season, which will change it up forever, is going to be Gotham having a huge fiery death storm coming in, as Ra's has predicted, and that will cut Gotham off from the rest of the country, and it'll start to get ruled by the villains. So this vision is quite important at the end of the episode. I don't know whether it was important enough to interrupt that tender moment between Bruce and Selina. I was absolutely hoping for the kiss to finally be planted between the two of these characters. It felt like a really special moment. I love that there's a little smile on Bruce's face where he realizes finally the two of them are on the same side again. We've got them back to where they should be. And then you realize Ra's has been creepily watching on for the whole thing, because he recites something that Selina had said about 2 minutes beforehand to Bruce. He says, "Oh yeah, the girl was right. This is what I'm going to do." You go, maybe you should have interrupted them a little bit before. But a lovely moment, and it does mean that we see Selina and Bruce on the same side again for the last couple of episodes of the season. Anything else in case note 5, John?
I think just simply to wrap up that, Ra's vision portends to a fairly chaotic Gotham, and from whatever that may come from, I suspect it might begin with Jay.
Yes, there's a very good possibility that one of the Jays that we've seen so far on the show may be returning to create more chaos in Gotham. That's our top 5 case notes for the episode. Just a couple of notes really for the episode, just some great lines in here. I absolutely loved the moment with Leslie Thompkins and Jim Gordon, where Jim walks into the club and she goes, "You're looking well for a guy that got shot 4 times. He goes, "You saved me, Leslie." She goes, "Well, I just killed Sophia Falcone, so I was in a pretty good mood." Love that little moment from her. And again, the chippy moment from the curator of Nana Pop Museum was a funny little moment in there. Overall, Gotham moment of the week of all the things that went on in the episode. What do you think, John?
I think for me, it was definitely the raising of Ra's al Ghul. I thought it was just really nicely done. It felt really epic, actually, for this character. Yeah. And I loved... until he was fully regenerated, I loved the cloaked figure with the sword. I thought the fighting scene when he was being attacked by the League of Shadows, the female faction of the League, I thought that was awesome. Cool, really, really cool, where Barbara's running for her life to get out of there and escape his his violence and what he wants to do. Really excellent. So definitely for me, moment of the week is the raising of Raish.
Yeah, and I think for me, just the twist on Oswald and Grundy by Ed, because it just felt like Ed had already done his twist on Leslie. I felt that he was finally breaking away from Leslie, but I love that it is another twist on the Oswald-Ed relationship where he locks the two of them up behind bars. It's not going to be long before Grundy gets out of there, but it is quite cool that we have another twist on that relationship again.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, I felt, will Grundy and Oswald be captured by the G.C.P.D. at
Possibly,
that bank as well?
Yeah.
And maybe is it just that Ed has betrayed all of them?
Perhaps.
Possibly,
yeah, perhaps.
Okay, I know it didn't look like that as Leslie and the Riddler part ways and Leslie goes to give herself up, but ultimately there's Grundy and Oswald in the bank vault still. The G.C.P.D. are running into the bank to secure it. Mm-hmm. Leslie's just been put in the back of the police car. So actually, will this be the case where the Riddler is the one that has managed to betray all of them?
He's sitting at home and has piles and piles of cash, realising how smart he really is. And Gotham Character of the Week, I think I'm going to nominate Leela, the leader of the Ladies of the League of Shadows.
Yes,
Just
I
because
think
there's
so.
so many L's in there. She's played by Shiva Kalasalvan. In the last couple of episodes, she's been quite central to the story, and it seems like she's going to be around for a bit of a while on the show. I like the fact that they started the episode with her challenging Barbara, throwing the knife through the head of the portrait.
Yes.
Nice little moment at the beginning. And she just seems to be a good character to kind of push Barbara into the leadership role she feels that she has to be in. And now knowing that they're now a supportive Ladies of the League.
Yes, she has pledged her support to Barbara despite having lost the Demon's Head. So really, really interesting stuff. Yeah, definitely for me, I think that is a great character of the week.
Excellent. John, how would you rate this episode of Gotham?
I would give this 4.5 Ra's al Ghul coffee mornings out of 5. Certainly this was great. By coffee mornings because it looked like he'd just woken up from a really bad sleep and needed a lot of coffee.
Thank you, John.
Yes, just some explanation there. I love the fact that it just dropped the whole Jeremiah and Jerome plot from the last episode and moved it into this totally different area, which was still amazing. Another completely different side of Gotham here. It's not the crazy chaotic one. It is one that is trying to bring the order. It is this balance of order and chaos in Gotham. And it's not just the G.C.P.D. or Bruce Wayne that is looking to bring order. It is also the League of Shadows, but in his own way, Oswald and the Riddler in terms of controlling the underworld as well. You know, you saw how uncomfortable Oswald was in the presence of Jerome and his chaotic, crazy plan, at least how he saw it because he was shut out and what it wanted to do. And so I thought this was really, really good. I love Ra's al Ghul. I love bringing it back to Bruce and his trauma of killing him and having to kill him again. I think with Babs, Tabitha and Selina all coming together as well. But again, shifting loyalties, Tabitha and Alfred teaming up, Selina going against what Alfred and Bruce wanted to, but then coming back. I mean, for me, Selina is literally the most sensible and pragmatic one of these.
Pragmatic.
She really will do what she needs to do to sort out the problem, which is Ra's al Ghul, not Barbara and Tabitha, which is how Bruce sees it. He sees these different sides. So I like this difference between the two. I thought it was excellent. So yes, 4.5 Ra's al Ghul coffee mornings out of 5.
Yeah, and it was also nice to see Jim and Harvey back together again as good old partners working together. I felt they were quite sidelined in the show for the first time in quite a while, that their scenes seem to be very small in this episode. There's only about 2 or 3 scenes with them. Jim has always been quite central in the show. I thought it was quite a nice departure just to have other characters take over as central, particularly Barbara Kean getting a big storyline here in this episode. It was really cool. Really, really enjoyed it overall. Let's get on to some feedback, John.
Yeah, definitely. Our first bit of feedback comes in through email. You can send any thoughts or comments on any episode of Gotham or indeed the season just over at feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. Our first bit of feedback is from Dylan Meyer. He goes, "Hi guys, I must say I really love the League of Shadows taking center stage this episode because they really do play a huge part in Bruce's upbringing and a lot of Batman's numerous iterations. This internal power struggle in the latest episode gives a different take as to how the League affects so many different characters' choices, such as having to choose sides and even foreshadowing Bruce's role in the pending doom that faces Gotham. Raish's favoritism of Bruce is extremely interesting, especially given how the League say the Demon's head can see the future. On your last episode of the podcast, I feel you may have hit the mark with Barbara being possibly set up to give birth to Talia al Ghul. Raish's admitted Barbara was special, and how Talia and Bruce have a romantic connection in the comics. This could explain Raish's favoritism of Bruce because Raish could see Bruce as an exceptional heir to the Al Ghul family, given he becomes the man he is capable of becoming. Even calling him the Dark Knight, knight and heir, it just makes sense." Excellent. Really good points here, Dylan. I think certainly, as you say, the tie-in between Bruce and the League of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul and obviously Talia al Ghul, it is a tangled web of interaction there, and I think this is certainly starting to explore that.
Yeah, totally agree.
Dylan goes on, "Line of the week for me is actually 2 lines from Alfred when he is standing in the back of the scene commenting on Selina's reasons for turning over the knife to Barbara, saying, 'She's got a good point there, Master Bruce.' After Selina says she didn't want Bruce to become a douche again after killing Ra's a second time. And when Selina says, 'Who cares about size when there's only Ra's that needs to be stopped?' To which Alfred comments again, 'Another good point.' I found it hilarious that he isn't even part of the conversation and he's speaking for all of us." Absolutely. That was really comedy gold from Alfred in this episode.
He was really good in this episode. He had loads of great moments. Those are 2 really good ones. Thanks for that, Dylan.
Dylan's moment of the week for him is Selina's Mission Impossible-esque rope drop to recover the magical knife and giving a genuine smile as she is being pulled back up. It appears as if Cameron was having a really fun time filming that scene. As always, I can't wait for the next episode, but this time it's 2 weeks away.
Thanks so much for those thoughts, Dylan. Yeah, I loved that moment with Selina. Really, really good fun.
Thank you so much, Dylan, for all those points. Really interesting stuff. And certainly, how the League of Shadows, Ra's al Ghul and Barbara and Bruce, how they all mash together is fascinating.
Definitely. We also got some feedback over in our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Gotham TV Podcast. If you want to come over and join us there for the last few episodes of the season, go on ahead. Claire Payne says, "It was a very good episode. 2 very good plot stories." Charlotte Bain says, "Oh my god, Bruce, Alfred, Selina and Tabitha, that was just a great interaction with each other. I felt bad for Bruce being horrified on Ra's al Ghul's return. It was non-stop action. When he deepens his voice, Bruce is Batman. So courageous. Barbara, her thirst for power, could have killed her and Tabitha, but she cared for Tabitha and finally gave Ra's al Ghul's demon head back. But what's interesting is the League's women come back to her. We'll see what's going on in the future. Ed and Lee, that love. Bonnie and Clyde thing. It's a soap opera at its best. Great to see Butch and Oswald together again. Funny, before leaving, Ed said he didn't have anything against Oswald. Butch or Solomon Grundy is going to get him. Lee just enjoys damaging Jim, doesn't she?
She certainly does. I love the little Machiavellian smile that Lee Thompkins has these days. It's so good.
Shall I, because I'd say Bruce and Selina were about to kiss, and then Ra's al Ghul blocked it.
Yes.
It really did. It felt like a choice, didn't it? It felt like he could have waited 30 more seconds, but he wasn't going to. And then telling Bruce about the future Gotham and the catastrophic future, but he will be the Dark Knight Rising. Love this cinematic episode. Derek and John, love you guys as well.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. And thank you for the comments as well. Yeah, this really was cinematic. It really played into such large themes about the origins of the Dark Knight and Batman as well. So really fantastic stuff. Louis Jesus goes on and says, "It took me by surprise when the Riddler turned on Penguin. I didn't see that coming. This show is so much fun to watch." Yeah, I must say I was a little shocked when Riddler turned on Penguin as well. And I'm wondering now, has the Riddler ultimately turned on the Penguin, Grundy, as well as Lee Thompkins, and has made off with what? So it was at least $400 million that he's gone off with. So it'll be interesting to see whether he just lets Lee languish in the cell at the G.C.P.D precinct.
I really like that, John. Good call. Thanks so much for all of the feedback this week. As John said, if you want to send us any feedback, email us at feedback@GothamTVPodcast.com or pop on over and join us on our Facebook group.
And of course, please head on over and subscribe, leave a review, rate us over on your favorite podcast catcher of choice. Please share the love, share the podcast to bring some more listeners on board. And of course, if you want to direct them anywhere, you can send them on over to GothamTVPodcast.com and go to our subscribe section, and you can choose any good or evil podcast catcher of choice to listen to Gotham TV Podcast.
Absolutely. We will be back again in 2 weeks' time, since Gotham's on a break, with episode 20 of this season of Gotham, season 4, called That Old Corpse.
Old Raish.
Which corpse is it going to be? Is it going to be Raish? Is it going to be... Will Jerome be back on another slab again? You never know. There's been quite a few corpses in Gotham. I think it probably is going to be Raish, though.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be... Ouch.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back again soon.
Yes, as always, thank you so much for listening. I'm off to go and have my coffee morning with Ra's al Ghul. And after that, we will speak with you again next time. Bye.
Bye.
I'm David Mazouz, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Drew Powell, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Robin Lord Taylor, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.